So really exciting. He's been a good boy and he's listened, and he's put that kudu carcass up a nice big marula tree. Now, Dave and I did get a brief visual of him on the ground, so we're staying far away. He's lying in a thicket where we can't see him nicely, but this is very good news. He's hoisted the carcass overnight. Still quite a bit of meat on it. So we'll definitely be coming back and checking during the drive, but for now, I think I'm just going to leave him be, let him relax down again, and then maybe pop through a little bit later on the sunrise safari. But I'm very excited for tonight's sunset safari because he's going to be more relaxed in the dark. So I'm pretty sure he's watching and listening to us at the moment. Raisa says, good morning to the team, all the team, the well-habituated team, lol. Well, yes, we're habituated, and hopefully in a couple of months so will he be if he decides to hang around. But I really, really love spending time with an animal like this and just slowly earning their trust and getting them nice and relaxed. It is a very rewarding process. So I have zoned this area, so it is still zoned. So we're not going to put many vehicles in here. Just that when you're habituating an animal, you don't want a vehicle with lots and lots of people on the back who don't mean to, but inadvertently might make a noise that might scare him. So very, very exciting. So Megan's wondering, how long will it take for this carcass to be finished? We can't see how much is on the other side, but I'm guessing quite a bit. He's already quite full. So I'd probably say he's going to be here maybe till tomorrow. And this is the best time, obviously, to do this habituation when they've got a kill. It's very difficult to do it when they don't. I'm very, very excited about this, and I hope you guys are too. And fascinating. I always wonder, where's this leopard come from? Definitely not your normal Sabi Sands variety that has grown up with vehicles. I'm guessing Kruger or Manuletti even. But I think Kruger is probably the best bet. So there's no tourist roads in Western Kruger down here. And hopefully we'll be able to get some screenshots or some photographs with some ID features on. And while he's up in the tree, that is a really good time to do it. Safari Dean says, way to go, new guy. Already stashing your meals better than Tingana. Now, there could be multiple reasons for that, actually. Because he's young, and he's probably under quite a bit of pressure from other leopards. A nice kill like that is far more important than to a leopard like Tingana, who was very fat when he caught that impala. And he's quite assured in his position as the sort of leopard king of Djuma at the moment. Well, you better be careful. There's new pretenders making their way. So I think he's probably got another, maybe not, probably a year or so before he can really start challenging. But we're going to move out now. And he is lying just behind where that kill is, and sort of just over there behind that thicket. But we're not going to go any closer for now. And I'd rather find him out in the open when we approach, rather than try to force him into the open by driving too close. At least there's a nice spot where we can watch that carcass from quite a bit of distance. And hopefully he will continue to become more comfortable over the next few days. Now, this is by no means a quick and easy process. This is going to take a couple of months if he hangs around. And even when he is slightly relaxed, we're still not going to be able to drive up to him like we do with the other leopards. We're still going to have to be extremely cautious when approaching him. And a lot of that hard work that you can do habituating can be undone in a split second by a bad decision. So, as I said, Tingana is really much the king of the Djuma leopards, and Jen's wondering, is he in Tingana's territory? Most definitely at the moment he is. He is sort of on the peripheries between, there's another big male leopard in the north who's not very relaxed, and Tingana. So he's sort of on the boundary between the two, and you do find that these young dispersal males like to sort of sneak around. It's very interesting. His sort of approach to avoiding other leopards will be very similar to Mvula's at the moment. Mvula is now past his prime, and I heard he was in Simbambili yesterday, and he's starting to take some big risks at the moment. So he actually caught a porcupine. Now, leopards who catch porcupines often get severely injured by their quills. So I don't know whether he got any quills stuck in his face or whatnot, but I will try to find out later on today. And the other bad news for him is Tingana's general direction was straight towards where he was. So we saw that kudu hanging up high, and John's wondering how high. I would say about 3-4 meters actually, and so it's quite high up in that marilla tree. So very little chance of anything else apart from another leopard stealing it. Now, we've often spoken about where leopards occur, and they have such a massive home range throughout the world. They used to occur all the way through Europe as well. So the dark red, this is not 100% accurate, is their former range. But a lot of this is incorrect. The leopards actually occur a lot of the way through South Africa, even though it's red there. But the green is where the dark green is a very stable leopard population. And then also the light green throughout India, Asia, all the way up into Russia and China. So a lot of China and that, they've been completely wiped out. So they've thought they were wiped out in North Africa, but some populations have been found quite recently. The only country, I think, in North Africa that they've been completely wiped out of was Egypt. But they have found populations in Morocco and Tunisia. And yeah, this is, I think, a very outdated map. So this southern Sudan, Ethiopia has actually got a very healthy leopard population in this area here. So they don't naturally occur in that driest of the Sahara, but around the edges they do occur. Now, the Congo Basin leopards, so this whole area here in the rainforests, are actually relatively stable, and just because there's just so little people out there. Okay. But still, that doesn't answer the main question. How many leopards are estimated to be left in Africa? I'll have to have a proper look. Oh, actually, why don't you guys just check for me so I don't sit there trying to cause a vehicle accident while I try to read through a whole bunch of text while driving. So why don't you guys have a look for me, and if you find out what is the estimated population of leopards left in Africa, I would recommend probably going to the Panthera website. They are probably going to be the best and the most truthful. And a lot of other stuff, there's a lot of doom and gloomers, there's a lot of over-positive, there's a lot of bad science on the internet, let's leave it at that. So I think from my point of view, the most trustworthy would be Panthera. And so if you can find out what that estimate is, and you can send that through to me on questions@wildearth.tv or hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. What is the current estimated leopard population for Africa?
James Richard has said that he hopes that Mbula's okay, and that Mbula seems to be playing dangerous games at his age. I just want to have a quick chat with, who's this coming through, Aubrey. I think we're both looking for the same thing. Morning, Orbs. How's it? How are you? Good, thank you. Hi, guys. Which way did those Ngala go last night? I don't see any tracks crossing Triple M. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to cut up Sandy Patch, check Sydney's. All right, thank you. Oh, tracks for Madora Ingwe cross Simbabili. Okay. Bye. So Orbs is going to try and get hold of Abel, who was the last person in the sighting with the Nkuhumas. See if we can't get an update about which general direction they looked like they were heading in. My suspicion is that they're going to head north to try and relocate the rest of the pride. But that is just pure guesswork as to where they might decide to go. What I can't understand is how they've managed to, from where we last saw them, float away without leaving so much as a trace of a toe or a footprint. Unless maybe they cut back south. That'll be our next step to check. This road, Sandy Patch Road, up towards Sydney's Dam, is such a productive road in terms of big cats, including the Nkuhuma Pride. Now, Catherine, as we chat away about them, you were wondering, does the name Nkuhuma have any specific meaning? And yes, it does. It comes from the local name for a brown ivory tree. And if I see a brown ivory tree, Catherine, I'll stop and show you what they look like. A really beautiful tree with thick green foliage, very bright, almost luminous green. And the reason that they have that name is apparently because when they first were found, as a new pride to this area, they were found sleeping under an Nkuhuma tree, under a brown ivory tree. And possibly that became one of their preferred spots to lie up during the day. And lionesses, or lion prides, and male coalitions do have very specific places that they like to go, and as they move through an area, where they like to go and lie down, which is why we see them fairly regularly in the same place. Here we go. Let me just listen to this for one moment. They did go south. Okay, so those lionesses did go south. We are just going to go check Sydney's Dam anyway. We're currently going north, which would explain why there's not a track or a footprint. We'll check up on Sydney's Dam and then we'll start heading back south again. This is where I had the last tracks for Tingana as well, disappearing into this incredibly dense block. This is a very difficult block to go tracking in. The buffalo love it, the elephants love it, and in fact there's still a couple of elephants around. I've heard them breaking branches while I was following those leopard tracks earlier. So it's a block to be approached with caution, but very often yields incredible results. Perhaps they just crossed Triple M further south from where I checked. That's also a possibility. And Diana, just in terms of our approach to following animals, most of you know by now that when we hear lions calling in the morning, it instantly gives us a really nice place to start looking. We can guess roughly where the sounds are coming from and move in that direction. But Diana, I didn't hear any lions calling last night or leopard sawing. Leopard sawing doesn't travel quite as far as a lion's roar, but I didn't hear anything around the house that I live in, and I certainly didn't hear anything this morning. The only lions I heard were calling really far away, far, far to the southeast. So faint that I barely caught the end of that call. No, they weren't calling in our immediate vicinity, but of course lions, particularly lionesses, and particularly two on their own, are not necessarily going to be vocal about it. They're not necessarily going to roar every single night, unless they were trying to find the rest of the pride. I think we'll do a quick stop here. We'll go back down south on Aubrey's Road, pop our head into the hyena den very briefly, and then go check Triple M once again. Standing by. Copy that. Thank you very much. I thought maybe Aubrey had something here at Sydney's, but it doesn't appear that way. He's just letting me know that the lions went south along Impala Road, or towards Impala Road. And as I said, lots of elephants about, so it could well be, as we were driving down there, particularly in the dark, that we just missed where their tracks came across. Look at the waterbuck. So many youngsters. I'm not sure why they're galloping in circles, but that appears to be the order of the day. Look at all the little ones there at the back. And some zebra as well, all making their way down for their morning drink. Oh, trotting back in that direction. So exciting. Morning drink. Oh, nobody really wants to be the first to drink. You never know when a crocodile might be lurking. And there are crocodiles in this dam. The zebra also showing a general nervousness in their approach. Oh, but the little ones are thirsty enough to brave it. There they go. Just to give you an update, Brent's just found female leopard tracks crossing back into Djuma. I think that he's going to be following up on those now. But he's also checked for any signs of our lions, and it doesn't seem they've gone in that direction. Lovely. The views from Sydney's dam are so special because it's so nice and open. You can really watch the way that the animals behave and approach from a distance. And it gives you a very different perspective on the way in which things work. Nothing like having an elephant herd or a buffalo herd here. Okay. Let us go and see if we can't find these lions and where they've gone.
I'm definitely not doing those numbers in my head. Okay. Struggling. Nope, nothing down there. Always, as I said, pays to double check. So, Anna Marie's saying that they're not 100% sure on the leopard population, but some people think there's as few as 3,000 left in South Africa. I'm not so sure about that one, Anna Marie. I think there's probably a few more, but what you need to look at is the meta population. So if you start looking at individual countries, it becomes quite complicated to work out. So you want to be looking at least Southern Africa, and that'll give you a much better idea, because a lot of those leopard populations are cross-border populations, especially in South Africa. We've got a very healthy cross-border Mozambique, Zimbabwe population, a healthy Botswana cross-border population, and a healthy Namibia cross-border population. So I think the estimate for Kruger is about 2,000 or so. So 3,000 for the whole of South Africa is a little bit low. So there we go. And that wonderful thing about the leopard being able to slip through the cracks. And 3 different groups say the leopard population is unknown in the wild. And so basically, the best way to do it is you work on the protected areas that have healthy leopard populations. And you work on it, you go above average, so you always try to be as pessimistic as possible with these type of things. So if we take let's just take the whole Kruger, which is 1.9 million hectares. Now that's not including the private reserves, just Kruger National Park. And through the various habitats, you're probably looking, on average, at somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 hectares per leopard. Now that's, of course, mixing male and female, which is, we're just doing some general stuff here. We're not going too specific. So let's call it 2,000. It's a nice round number to work out with. An average of 2,000 in 1.9 million hectares. Let's actually be a little bit more, because we do have some of those dry areas where there's not a lot of leopard at all. Or their territories will probably be 5,000 hectares. So let's call an average of about 3,500 hectares for interest sakes. Now, of course, this is by no means pure science. We're just doing a bit of educated guessing at the moment. And I need to find a calculator. Calculator. I'm definitely not doing those numbers in my head. Okay. Struggling to find a calculator here. Remember, technology sometimes confuses me. Don't forget to look for the lion tracks while I'm fiddling, Dave.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure these things used to have calculators on them. So there we go. That's probably a much better idea. Final Control is going to calculate for me. But let's take an average of 3,500, or even, let's be even more pessimistic. Let's call it 4,000 hectares. So that's averaging between male and female territory sizes and different types of habitat. Because of course on the big rivers, the territories are smaller, and away from the big rivers, they're bigger. So let's take 4,000 4,000. So let's 1.9 million divided by 4,000. See what that comes up with. Now, I haven't. So we take an average, there we go, of about 4,000 hectares. Now that's covering both male and females. And of course, if we had to do it properly, we would separate the male territories from the female territories, and the males would be bigger, so there'd be less males. But let's just be very much generalists now. We're having a nice discussion rather than a scientific, trying to prove a scientific argument. So that gives us a number of 475. And I said we're being very pessimistic. So I'm pretty sure there's more than 475 leopards in the Kruger. I think there's probably close on. I mean, let's just think about the leopards we know about in the northern Sabi sands. So that's being very pessimistic. I'm guessing there's probably about 1,500 to 2,000 leopards in the greater Kruger, just based on what I've seen and the type of habitat we go through. So if we take the northern Sabi sands, which is, we've got 1,000, 3,000, 4, 5, we've got about 9,000 hectares on that side, and then we've got probably another 7 or 8. So about 15, well, maybe it's closer to 20,000 hectares in the northern Sabi sands. And let's just go on the leopards we know. So not any of these leopards that might be or might not be, that we know that definitely hold territory in the northern Sabi sands. And those are also ones that are outside of our Traverse area. So we have, of course, number one on everyone's list, Queen Karula, who's very much still here. And then we'll go with her two daughters next, Shadow and Tundi. And after Shadow and Tundi, stick with the females. In Kanini, it's around 4. I think Salahershe, 5. What's her name now? She's Kwatile's daughter, but like K something. But anyway, because we're not even going to count Kwatile in case she actually has passed to the next realm. So there's her daughter. So we're now on 6. Salahesha's cub is also a female. That's 7. And then there's Shluva. That's 8. And there's that Manileti female in Buffelshoek. That's 9. And then I've forgotten the name of the other one. Oh, what's her name? She's down on the Londo's boundary in Elephant Plains. That's 10. And then there's another one on the Mala Mala boundary with Hoffman's. So that's 11. That's 11 females. Now let's go on to the males. There's Mr. Anderson. There's Tingana. There's Mvula. There's Shivambalan. And there's this guy because we're seeing him regularly. Or not regularly, but we have been seeing him for the last while. So the unknown is 5. And then Quarantine and Kanyuma are still around. That's 6. That's 7. And then there's this new male that's being seen to the west of us that's moved up from Malamala called Rock Drift. So that's 8. So that's 19 leopards in 20,000 hectares. So final control, please, could you do 20,000 divided by 19? Here we go, here's some zebra barras. There we go, nice little herd of zebras have moved out to the open area near Sydney's waterhole. Now, we were seeing a lot of zebra. Now we're not seeing so many. Now, because of the rain, they've dispersed. And So there's more grazing, so they don't, and more water, so they don't all have to be focused in an area. So apparently 20,000 divided by 19, I think I should have done that the other way around. I think it's 19 divided by 20,000 to get the leopards per hectares for this area. But as I said, this maths is not my strong point. But we will figure that out. So there we go. It's 0.095 leopards per hectare. So that's nearly a... No, I think I'm confusing myself here. So just, we're going to leave these zebras. We're going to start heading back towards that unrelaxed male. While we do that, Jamie's got some interesting insects to show you. And I'm trying to try to figure out in my head what crazy mathematics I've been trying to do.
I've just been thinking about the mathematics of termite mound building. And all the hundreds of thousands of workers, if they lay down 5 grains of sand per minute, what kind of productivity will come from that? And just have a look at these termites. They've all started slowing down now. Just when we first got here, it was a flurry of activity. Unfortunately, they really have picked the silliest spot to start building up a termite mound. I'm not sure if they are part of the same colony that has built up a giant termite mound to the right of us. I'm actually starting to think they might be a different species. They almost look like they might be snouted termites. But here they go. You can see how much work they've done overnight. All of that fresh dark mud, that's been done since last night and early this morning. Because it's cool and cloudy, they are quite happy to work away at building it. And I'll just give you a sense of scale, just to show you just how productive they have been with their day. They've built all along here. There's some still building right in the middle here. And then if I come across, they're starting around here as well. And this is just to give you an idea or a sense of scale. This is how much they've constructed. And a lot of these look like they are soldiers as well. This is not the common harvester termite that we usually see. Try it. Aggressive. I'm trying to get one to grab this blade of grass. They've got very, very powerful mandibles. And they readily bite and attack and hold on, like this one is doing. I prefer not to do this with my finger. Just look how strong those jaws are. Incredible. Holding up his whole body weight on that blade of grass. Gonna pop him back now. I just prefer it. I know James has done this several times with his finger. I prefer not to, actually. I'm quite happy to not let the termites bite me. There you go, buddy. Back to your friends. You can release that attacking grass blade that he grabbed. You can see how strong those jaws are. It's interesting to see soldiers so busy with the construction of part of the termite mound. And that's what they seem to be doing. They really seem to be building, which is interesting. Usually you've got that very clear division. And let me see if I can't find you a picture of what I mean. Let's use this as an example. It's not necessarily what we're looking at, but you've got a very clear division between the workers, the slightly smaller pale ones, and then the soldiers with the larger heads and the more fierce mandibles. I think the individuals, initially I thought we were looking at snouted harvester termites, but I don't think so anymore. I think maybe we are just looking at common all-garden fungus-growing termites. So the ones that farm fungus in their termite mounds. We've spoken a lot about them. And the reason that they build these vent-like structures is in order to keep the temperature constant for the fungus to grow. And they basically form a very, very close relationship with a fungus known as tomatomyces that digests. They use the fungus to digest the parts of the plant material that they can't, but at the same time they farm that fungus, keep it healthy, keep it at the right temperature that's optimum for its growth, which is around between 32 to 37 degrees centigrade, so in the 90s Fahrenheit. Unfortunately, they have definitely put themselves in the wrong place. Let me just sort out what's happening with my mic. Might have hooked as I got out of the car. Yep. On to a bit of a walk. Here we go. There we go. All right, we're going to drive my tires around both of them, although unfortunately, I think that choice of venue for a termite mound is not the most appropriate. I mean, I've driven around them, but chances are, a little bit later, when all of those termites have gone back underground, when the sun gets too hot, chances are those termite mounds are going to be driven over at some point by somebody using this road. Definitely not the most intelligent spot to put a termite mound. Shame. All of their hard night's work. I know that we had a question about elephant tracks, and I am keeping an eye out. We have got some nice ones here. Book Diva, you wanted to know what an elephant track looks like. I'm just trying to find, I wish the sun would come out just a little bit to make it clearer. Oh, let's try and find a spot where the zebras haven't walked all over the elephant track. Let's try and find you a nice clear one, Book Diva. And I'll also be able to jump out and just give you a perspective of just how large an elephant track really is and really can be. There's lots of young bulls around at the moment. We had an incredible sighting with some of them on quarantine yesterday, quarantine clearings. Just spending time with them, very peaceful sighting. But it is interesting just how many young bulls have decided to move in around Djuma at the moment. And I'm sure there's a good chance that either Brent or myself... Sorry, just listening. Game drive comms. Oh, okay. Not relevant to us. But yes, there's lots. We could well see one of these young elephants at some point. Come on, son. Make a little bit of an attempt here to make looking at these tracks a lot easier. So you need, whenever we drive about in this cloudy weather, we have to check even more carefully than we usually do for tracks, because the light doesn't really strike them at the right angle. So we've got elephant tracks here for Book Diva. Believe it or not, that is an elephant track. And what I'm going to do to make things easier is I'm actually going to hop out and I'll show you, I'll draw the outline for you so that you get a better idea of what it is you're looking at and a sense of scale. So within elephant tracks themselves, you don't really see the toes all that clearly, although elephants do have toes. You just see a round dinner plate-sized flattened part with all of the wrinkles showing through. And in fact, the sun's coming out now nicely.
This one would be...
This one is going to be the best. So there we have, I don't want to stand with my shadow over it. This is an elephant track. Now he's walking relatively slowly. His back track is falling on top of his front track. And all of these really fine lines are the wrinkles in his feet. But to make it easier for you, I'm actually going to outline his track. That is his front foot. And this is his back foot. You can see where with most animals, most of the weight falls on the front half of their body. So the tracks in front tend to be bigger and rounder than the ones at the back. So his front foot has fallen here, his back foot falls on top of it, and very conveniently with elephant tracks, their back tracks almost make an arrow pointing in the direction that they're going. So this elephant is going that way. And if you're interested, just from the way his feet have fallen, oh, and you can also have a look at the length of his stride. This is his right side, and this is his left side. Let me go back a little bit so you can see. So the distance between his left and the next left, so left here, right here, left here. Long strides. So even walking slowly, they cover an enormous amount of distance in just with that slow loping walk. Okay, so Book Diva, that's what an elephant track looks like. We're not going to try and track him, however, because elephants can cover tremendous distances in one go. And these tracks are from sometime last night. They have been walked over by other animals like zebra. Cool, so you sort of roughly get the idea. Sometimes we get much nicer, clearer examples with the sun, when the sun is cooperating. Where on earth have these lions gone? Now, Linda, just chatting about the termite mounds that are being built up in the road. You were wondering if we will protect them from being disturbed. And the answer is unfortunately no. There's a very good conservation reason behind that. First of all, once those termites have gone back underground as the day gets hotter, and when that termite mound does get ridden over by a car, they won't go back and then build in the same place. They will start building elsewhere. Now, the only thing that we could do to save them is to redirect the road around them. And that actually does far more ecological damage than the partial destruction of a little bit. And as you know, most of a termite mound is underground anyway. So that's just a little vent system that unfortunately has chosen the wrong place to be. Roads do have an impact, and they of course are totally necessary, but they do have an impact on the environment. And creating an extra loop around is going to create that extra point of compression of the soil, and that can go many, many layers deep if that road is used regularly. And it will create an extra area for water to flow down, because there's no grass or, I mean, apart from a couple of blades in the middle of the road, there's no grass or trees or anything to stop water flow down roads, which is one of the reasons why we have those speed bumps, those bolsters. They're not for speed, they are for stopping the flow of water and redirecting it into the soil where it belongs, rather than having the road draw out the underground water that should be flowing through an area. So although it seems quite cruel to not just casually drive around the termites, it's not really possible, and it actually ultimately will do more ecological damage than just mowing down that one little bit. But you'll find that what we'll do is we'll wait until it's hot and the termites have gone underground, so that we don't actually then needlessly kill any of them in that process. And that termite mound, once it does get hot, those termites will be completely gone from that particular section above the ground. Oh, that's very interesting. A white-backed vulture. Well done, Wium. I wonder what he is doing here, and if there's any particular reason. Quite possibly not. It might just have been roosting. He was sitting, I know we've spoken about how they prefer to be in trees without leaves, and that's exactly where he was sitting up in a dead tree that's straight into the sun. So he was just basking and warming up, and maybe he just settled there for the night. If we were seeing more vultures, possibly different species, and maybe even sitting in trees with leaves, we could start to wonder if the nkuhumas aren't hiding a kill somewhere from us. I have a track quiz for you, and I just need to figure out how I'm going to ask it. and it should be, it's a difficult one, but there is a very clear answer. There's no other options. Can we have a look at the bird tracks in the middle of that elephant track in the sun there? Thank you very much. Okay, let's see if anybody can tell me which bird has walked along through this elephant track. And I will give you one hint. Each track is toe to heel. So each track falls then straight in front of the other. Toe to heel. Let's see how many of you can figure out which particular bird species this is. I know that, I think it was Darlene who asked about whether or not we can tell individual species of birds from their tracks. Let's see if any of you can figure out which bird this might be. Walking on the ground, has a back toe, and is walking on the road. Tracks falling like this. See if any of you can get that. Send that through to #SafariLIVE on Twitter or email through to questions@wildearth.tv. In the meantime, let's find out how Brent's search for that mystery leopard is going.
So someone asked about Mr. Ghost Leopard's track, and there it is. This is from where he's departed and gone for a drink. It was here when we came in this morning, and you can see it's a big male track. I mean, there's a car tire there, that's width there. So it's a big male track, as big as an Mvula track or a Tingana track, although often with leopards, their feet grow faster than the rest of them. So he's going to be quite a nice male when he's finished growing. Now, we're going to be sneaking in again. So we're still quite far away from where he is, but we wanted you to join us in case he is in the tree. He might jump down the tree if he is. So we just want to go very slowly in there to have a look. This area is still zoned to one vehicle only. And I have spoken nicely to other guys, and they've agreed to just stay away for now. And we're going to just work slowly on habituating. Now, it's much easier for us to habituate because there's only Dangerous Dave and myself. So there's not 10 people on a vehicle who, of course not on purpose, but inadvertently might move too quickly or make a funny noise that might disturb him. So we're going to go very, very slowly in here. So we can see that marula tree in the distance there. The kill's just off to there. So I'm coming in speaking, so he knows we're coming. We're not coming in quietly and sneakily, but I am coming in very slowly. So the opposite to going after wild dogs. So when we were following his tracks when we first came in this morning, initially the kill was by that second marula down the road there, just off to the left. And we noticed these tracks veered off a little bit earlier, and so that's to where he's moved that kudu carcass. I'm going to try and get, even if it isn't the best visual, from quite far away before we even attempt to try see where we can see it, just if we can see the tree that carcass is in. Okay, look at this beautiful light coming through. So Genevieve's wondering how long it takes to assess the personality of each individual leopard when you start habituating. Genevieve, it's so difficult to say that, and each individual leopard's different. And sometimes you can never succeed in the habituation process. Other times it happens much quicker than you think it's going to. So I was already incredibly pleasantly surprised with the progress we managed to show just yesterday afternoon. Was it this marula or was it the next one? There, let's zoom in, it's that marula. So I don't think he's up in the tree. Have you got a visual there, Dave? Okay, let's roll forward a bit. There we go. So there's the carcass. So he's not up in the tree. And as I said, we are going to keep our distance for now. Especially during the day, he's not going to be nearly as relaxed as in the dark. I'm just going to go forward again. And I'm just going to keep driving past. We might spot him on the ground. But if we don't, I'm definitely not going to drive off-road in this bright sunlight towards him. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get we might not get a visual apart from the one Dave and I briefly had this morning, which wasn't a very good one, on this sunrise safari. We might get a good chance on the sunset safari, but I don't want to undo any of the good work we did last night. But the really great thing is that it is in a tree, so we can stay after dark now. Okay, well, I think we've done enough and just a nice little slow drive-by this morning. We're going to leave the area now. I'm not going to come back here again. I think twice is enough for one morning. So we'll head off and see what else we can find. So, before we get on to Lucy from Indiana's question, we're just going to quickly close off that very confusing mathematical stuff that was going on a little bit earlier. So, we did a few calculations. It was a bit easier doing them myself. I understood what I was doing. So, this is a very good area to say as an average area, because it's not the best leopard territory, but it's not the worst. It's sort of somewhere in the middle. And I completely forgot that we have 6 cubs at the moment as well that we know about. So there's obviously shadows 2, Karulas 2, and Kaninis 2. So if we take 70% of those are going to die, which is the average mortality rate in the Sabi Sands, it leaves us with 2 of those 6 surviving. So that takes us from 19 to 21. And with 21 leopards and 20,000 hectares, it's an average of about a single leopard per 952 hectares. And if we take that as, this is a very good average area, so when we take that and we put that through to the 1.9 million hectares of Kruger, it works out to 1,195 leopards. So, and that's on a very average sort of very, very average. Of course, it could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. We didn't include the private reserves. We just try to keep it to the greater Kruger, oh, not the greater, just the Kruger National Park. And so, now I said, this is no by means exact science, but it can give us a sort of a rough general idea of how many leopards are in this area. And you probably find this is the largest, not probably, it is, the largest leopard population in South Africa would be the Kruger and its surrounds. So Lucy was wondering, do young male leopards have respect for their elders, or do they just fight them? Well, Lucy, he would definitely have quite a lot of respect for any male bigger than him. Females, probably not. So he'll probably fight, try steal kills from the females if he got the opportunity. kill their cubs. But a big male like Tingana, judging from his size, I think he would have a healthy respect for. Now, Mvula, that's an interesting one. He might actually have a go at Mvula, especially because Mvula's condition isn't quite what it once was. And he is an older male, so he might fight an Mvula type character, but I don't think he would risk Tingana just yet. So while we continue to see what else we can find on this gorgeous late summer's morning, Jamie has got an avian predator to show you.
And on this peculiar misty morning, one of our raptor species is making short work, or taking advantage at least, of the current explosion in population of insects and reptiles that we've been experiencing. He's got something. Very difficult to see straight into the sun what it's got, but it's definitely feeding on something. It's got something in its claws. It's attempting to balance on a very spindly dead branch at the same time and feed. I'm struggling in this particular light to see exactly what it is. My first thought was with that square tail was a Wahlberg's, but I think it's a little bit small. Could be a goshawk, but with its posture bent over like that and straight into the sun, it is very tricky to tell. I think it's that dark chanting goshawk. Feathers not all the way down to the legs, and it looks the right sort of color in this very gray light. I think I can see flashes of orange on the feet. There you go, you can see it feeding clearly now. Could even be the same goshawk that Brent saw attacking that snake a couple of days ago. It's the right sort of area. We're in very close to where Brent had that sighting. Beautiful, beautiful light. Misty and cloudy. Strange weather. Transitional weather is what it feels like. You can feel the change in the air. And I'm sure all the animals can as well, making the most of whatever opportunity presents itself, like what I think is a goshawk, sort of looking straight into the sun, getting as much food as they can in preparation for the relatively hard months ahead. I'm heading across to Treehouse Dam in the hope that maybe I've missed the lion's tracks popping out and coming south. Both Brent and myself have checked Triple M. They don't seem to have crossed there. We'll just check around the waterholes, see if they haven't decided to go down for a drink. The only other alternative, of course, is that the elephants have walked over where their tracks have crossed, which is entirely possible. There's been lots of elephant activity throughout the night. Now, apparently we're getting a couple of answers coming through on the subject of tracking for the track quiz. One of them is correct. One of them I will absolutely accept. Franklins and guinea fowl. Maybe what I should actually have done, to be completely fair to you, was to get out and show you the exact size of that track. The track is about the size of, about half the size of my thumb. Now, a franklin and a guinea fowl, a franklin's tracks is about 6 centimeters long. So what is that? That's about 2 inches in length. And without a back toe, a guinea fowl is even longer than that, close to 10 centimeters, so close to 5 inches, not 5 inches, just over 3 inches, so even longer, again, without a back toe. And I specifically mentioned the black toe in that way. So the bird that we're looking at is a passerine of some kind. It's got 3 toes in the front and 1 at the back. Now, that could include hornbills, but a hornbill has a very, very special adaptation. It has got a slight fusion between its second and its third toe. And what that does is it creates a banana shape to the hornbill's tracks. They curve inwards. But we are, in fact, looking at the answer to our track quiz, or almost at the answer to our track quiz. They're not walking on the road, but they are walking on the ground. So well done, SafariLIVE. You suggested mourning dove. Judging by the size of it, it was not actually the Cape turtle doves that we were looking at, although I would have accepted that as an answer just because of the sense of scale. My suggestion was actually it was an emerald spotted wood dove, which is very similar to the size of a mourning dove's track. It's just more likely because we see more of them on the roads, and emerald spotted wood doves in particular like to cruise along these roads. The most important aspect of a dove's tracks, and unfortunately, for some bizarre reason, I don't have my tracking book with me, but when doves walk, you've got three very distinct toes spread out, slightly curved inwards towards the middle track. And what you get is you get the 1 foot falling with the other in, or just on right next to the other one. So they walk like this. And when you describe a pigeon-toed, so somebody walking with their tracks facing slightly inwards, that's what you refer to, and that's where it comes from, the way that doves and pigeons walk, slightly curving inwards, and they make these beautiful little tracks on the road. The only other bird you might confuse it with is a starling, but the difference is starlings have much longer legs, and they don't really walk, they run along the road, and we'll stop and we'll have a look at one when we do see one running. And so the separation between the tracks is quite distinct. There's a clear stride length, whereas with doves, they basically do that. So well done to SafariLIVE. The hoopoe answer was a good one. It was a good suggestion. But again, same as the starling, you do get that slight extension away from the tracks. Also, you very seldom see hoopoes walking regularly on a road. The reason behind that is roads, as we spoke about before, they're compressed. So they're very hard by the constant vehicle traffic. And there's not much insect life happening within that layer, that top layer of soil. There will be further down underneath it, but there's not much for them to collect. And so the probing beak of the hoopoe not really suited for trying to dig into the road. I can actually hear the mourning dove, not the mourning dove, sorry, the emerald spotted wood dove. It's meant to be saying, I'm sad, 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 sad. And all the while, we're being very closely observed. Here's a tiny little head. Oh, no, there was a tiny little head. That tiny little head is now ducked down behind the grass. There's another one a little bit further to the left of that, sticking out of the burrow. Hello. Are you listening to Tracking Lessons, Dwarf Mongoose? Do you think you can tell the difference now between a starling and a dove? Yes, definitely. I'm sure they were fascinated by that conversation. Definitely one of my favorite animals. It seems as though our dwarf mongoose are playing a little bit shy at the moment. And I just want to say, while we have the opportunity, a good morning to a new viewer, Rich. Rich is watching on YouTube and saying that he's just joined the live stream and is really enjoying it and would like to know who's taking him out on safari. Rich, my name is Jamie, and behind me I have Wium. Wium operates the camera. And without our wonderful cameraman, we would definitely not be able to bring you these incredible live safaris. We've actually got 2 vehicles out this morning. The other vehicle has Brent presenting or driving and guiding, and Dave sitting on the back operating the camera. We also have 2 lovely ladies in a control room watching both of us and what we do, and they make a decision. Ow! There's a branch there. They make a decision about which vehicle to go to and how to switch between the different sightings that we have. And Rich, we're coming to you live from South Africa. We're in a place called Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves in the Sabi Sands in the Greater Kruger National Park area, so right up in the northeastern corner, or close to the northeastern corner of South Africa. And we welcome you on board, and we would love to hear the questions and the comments that you would like to make. feel free to ask away about what animals you could see out here, what you would like to see, and Jerry, in final control, will send them through to me via an earpiece, and we'll be able to answer them straight away. What you are seeing on your screen is happening in real life. First thing in the morning in South Africa. Such an amazing concept. I've been working here for a long time, or a relatively long time now, and it's still, when I stop to think about it, and whenever we chat to new viewers, I still absolutely am amazed by this concept. So this is from yesterday morning's Birmingham boys. Okay, let's just stop and listen. Brent said he heard monkeys calling from up this part of the drainage line here. First of all, let's see if we can't spot the monkeys, and second of all, let's see if we can't hear them alarm calling.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear them, Wium? Does it sound a little bit like they're further north?
Not further north.
Yeah, I've got them. Oh, cross monkeys. Let's go. No time to waste. We have to make a decision here. Do we travel through the Mulwati drainage line, or do we try and travel up on the top? I'm going to go through the middle, and the reason I'm going to do that is because whatever they're alarm calling at could be either in this drainage line or on either side, and I'd rather have the option of going either which way. Go, go, go. Go, 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 go. What's wrong, monkeys? What have you seen that we haven't? So from their high up vantage point, vervet monkeys are particularly well practiced in spotting the various predators, including leopards. They could also be alarm calling at a snake or a bird, but the way that they're alarm calling immediately suggests to me leopard. So guys, keep your eyes peeled. Look for that flash of white. That is the tip of the tail. They're alarm calling just here. Oh, that could be that drainage line around Ingwe Alley as well. Concentrating very hard. I'm going to be fairly quiet for the moment, just so that I can listen and track. It's in here somewhere. And y'all are listening and watching the monkeys. Must be somewhere in here. Oh, they're so cross. Aha. They're looking back towards us here. Whoopsie. Brent telling me to go backwards. They're looking outside of Chelepan. We've got to turn around here. This could be interesting. I'm just going to go for it. Come on, car. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Oh, there's a good Land Rover. Well done, Wendy. This is where speed is of the essence. There is a warbird soaring above our head. The Franklins are now choosing this moment to have a conversation. Last time I followed monkey alarm calls like this, we found Tingana on Arathusa. Standing by. those monkeys looked like they were looking west as well. I'll check now. Brent, by the way, has obviously made his way out of the hole, so he does not need any further assistance. Well done, Wendy. Starry Night has said to me, be careful, you mustn't lose my brakes again. And I did lose my brakes yesterday morning on the sunrise safari. Not entirely sure how. I think a casual tree just reached up and pulled the brake line of the back right tire. Luckily, we have the superb Opa to help sort us out. All right, we're gonna go across to Chelepan and then we're gonna stop and listen. See if we can't hear any alarm calls. I haven't seen any trucks going across the road. I have been moving quite fast. Oh, come on, Leopard, just be drinking just right here would be wonderful. Just gonna stop and listen. Taking earpiece out. I can see the monkeys. They've stopped alarm calling. Just pop my earpiece back in. They are. No, they're still calling. Such a toss-up now between trying to move fast and trying to check carefully. Their eyesight, a monkey's eyesight, is so good, and they've got such a good vantage point from where they are. Oh, they're still very cross. They're looking down where Brent was. Where is it? What are you guys seeing? Show me. Point for me. There's alarm calls a little bit further ahead. Let's go that way. Leopards love this drainage line. Here very carefully. A leopard moving through this area could be tricky to spot. See if we can't make this a time that a viewer spots the leopard before I do. Certainly wouldn't be a first if Wium spots it before I do. Our cameramen are very good at finding animals for us. It really does like the monkeys are saying gobble, 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 gobble. Gobble, gobble, gobble. I haven't seen any tracks, which means it's still moving in this drainage line system. Gobble, gobble. Gobble, gobble. This is a very, very tricky block. I'm just concentrating as hard as possible on not missing anything. So sorry if things are a bit quiet. On this particular block, a lot of this tracking will have to be done on foot. Brent was right behind me. He's got off and he's gone for a walk in the drainage line. There's a limit to how far up the Milwaukee drainage we can go. Thought I saw a flash of movement, but I'm now at that point, you know, when your brain is concentrating so hard on finding something specific that everything turns into it. Anything from a log to a termite mound. Getting a little bit too far, I think, away from those alarm calls. Unless the animal itself is... She's in the road. Her tracks come straight up here. And her scat is in the road. Her scat, fresh scat, right next to me. Brent, I've got Mkonzo from a fuzzy ingwe and some other fresh signs on twin dams just to the north of that drainage line. Copy, thanks, Dave. Where is she? She's got to be somewhere here. The tracks are walking straight up the road. The monkey's still alarm calling. They might be angry enough to keep calling even after she's moved out of their sight. She was just here.
Still got a track there?
Pardon?
Still got a track?
No, I'm just checking. I just wanted to get to this section to double check. I don't still have her tracks. She must have walked into the drainage line. Maybe she's hunting in there. I'm going to go back to the last position of her tracks because at this point she could either have gone left or right. Most likely right, given the monkey alarm calls. That's also why that Nyala looked so on alert as we drove through. Come on, Karula. Please, girl. Come say hello to everyone. I'm stopping here and I'm just going to get off the car. You stay with me, but I'm going to just get off the car. That pile over there is what first alerted me to the possibility of tracks. And I just want to check very carefully where her feet have gone off the road. I'm pretty sure she's gone in here. It's steaming hot.
Smelly.
I can't smell it yet. It's a pity the hyenas have walked all over the show. It looks like she's gone straight off in here. It's so tricky when a hyena's walked down a road at the same place as a leopard. So I definitely have a leopard's tracks, and that's definitely her scat. But now, oh, there's the smell, actually. Now I can smell her. Sudden thought that maybe I was actually... It's a Franklin. I had a sudden thought that maybe she was actually closer than I thought she was. But it is a Franklin sitting on a stump in the thick block. She's walked past here. Now the Franklin's moved out of her way in fear. She's just somewhere in here. All right. Let's hop back in. We'll do another search. Hopefully she's moving back towards the road. Both Brent and myself can't both go off walking in our search. Okay. There's no tracks further past to where I walked up to the car. But the Franklin sitting on a log immediately suggests to me that she cut up in this direction. Come on, leopard. Let's find this girl. I'm sure she's in the drainage line. I'm sure she's cut into the drainage line, but we must have just missed her by a fraction of a couple of minutes.
So exciting. I think it could be Karula. We did have her tracks coming in earlier on today, but quite far from here, so it looks like she's done some serious distance. And unfortunately, as we heard those monkeys and we jumped down into the drainage line, as we're trying to turn around to where the monkeys were looking, I wasn't looking behind me, and we fell into a very big hole that the elephants had dug in the riverbed. So we got stuck. Well, we weren't stuck, we were temporarily unable to move. You're only stuck when you have to call for help. That is the rule. So if you have to get someone else to come pull you, push you, or help you, then you are stuck. If you get yourselves out, it is not stuck. So you might notice that in our rush to find this leopard, I didn't put our jack back. I've just popped it next to me for now. I'll put it back later. But I think we've got a really good chance of finding her. So I'm gonna let Jamie walk in on those really fresh tracks. I'm gonna jump up ahead of Jamie and try to do a bit of guesswork. So try think where, if I was Karula, would I pop out next? Always just worth checking all those little signs. You never know when they might come to fruition. But let's stick to our original plan. think if we hadn't have got temporarily delayed, we would have been about 30 seconds behind her. But that is part and parcel of being out in the bush. Checking. I had lost tracks when I was on foot somewhere in here. It sounds like Jamie's got tracks further ahead. So Jamie's on the hot set. James Richard has made a very astute observation. You can see why a leopard's hunting success rate is so low when there's so many sets of eyes waiting to tell everyone where they are. That's true. Monkeys, squirrels, birds, impala. And there's Wium. He's been abandoned. Hopefully Jamie took the keys so Wium doesn't leave her behind. Hello, Wimpy. How are you doing? Stretching your legs? Mm-hmm. Where was the last track?
There by the stinky pool there.
Yes, I saw that. Going in. I'm going to go around towards the dam and then come into the drainage line from the northern side.
Sure. Good idea.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yes. Oh, it's so fun catching Wium on camera. He's looking at me with a big grin on his face as we drive off. Very confident she's around. Dave, leopard, orchid. There's a leopard orchid. Final Control had a heart failure. Do you see the leopard orchid, Dave? In the base of this big, nice acacia. Up, 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 up. There we go. There's a leopard orchid. Not quite the leopard we were looking for. You should have seen Dave's face, guys. He was searching everywhere. I couldn't help it. When I saw that leopard orchid, I thought, yeah, these chances don't come on too often. When you're actually searching for a leopard, that there's been alarm calls, and you happen to find a leopard orchid. Sorry about that. Couldn't help it. So I think she actually hasn't got this far yet. I think she's still further behind us. So unfortunately, I think she might evade us for the sunrise safari. We can't really get a vehicle in below here. There's been a lot of trees pushed down by elephants, and the drainage line or riverbed has very high banks, so very difficult to negotiate through there. But I would definitely keep an eye out on the Djuma dam cam during the day. Her general direction is just heading straight towards there. But we can't hear any alarm calls. So I think I'm just gonna check one last little pan in case she decided to have a little drink. Which is just over this little hill. Sit on the high ground above the water. See if we can spot anything. Unfortunately not. But it is wonderful to have all these mud wallows around. Of course, it does make it a little bit harder for us to find cats sometimes because there's so many options about where you can drink. But it's great for the other animals to have this nice bit of water before we're going into the dry season. Noctua says, Brent, I almost gave myself whiplash looking back at the screen because of your leopard orchid joke. Well, I'm sorry. It was quite funny, though. I couldn't help myself. But she is definitely around, and that's really good for the sunset safari. And it's nice to know that she's back. I think she's those tracks we had much earlier in the morning, right near our sort of western corner with her coming in. I think she's come down through past Treehouse Dam and moved into this area. So fingers crossed, she is planning to move her cubs back towards Djuma, away from the south. That would be really, really great news for all of us. It has been an exciting sunrise safari. That unrelaxed male leopard is still there. Dave and I did manage to catch a glimpse. But as I said, we're going to put as little pressure as possible on him at the moment. And we have zoned that area. We will be back there on the sunset safari. And we made such good progress relaxing him yesterday on the sunset safari. And I think we're definitely going to continue with that little endeavor. And it is so exciting to have a new leopard on Djuma. Even though he does pose a threat to Karula and her cubs, but that is nature, sometimes at its most raw, but in my opinion, at its most beautiful. But let's go see what Jamie's up to for the last few minutes of the safari.
We've come to a grove of Raisa's favorite tambuti trees, a perfect, peaceful spot to sit and listen just for the last few moments, see if we can catch any sign of Karula moving about this area. But at least it gives us a place to start for the sunset safari. Thank you, Wium, for all of your fantastic camera work, and thank you to Jerry in Final Control. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and we will catch up with you on the sunset safari, hopefully with more leopards to show you. Cheers.